Sunrise at Uluru is sublime. By camel, I get an even better view of the crazy shift in colors.
Australians refer to it as the red center, that vast expanse in the middle of the country that most of us know as the Outback. It's the light of morning. It's beautiful. You can't help but notice the color of the soil. It's the color of terracotta pots, punctuated by this sage green. And then you look up and you see this huge rock.
Early Europeans called it Ayers Rock, but its proper name is Uluru, the centerpiece of Uluṟu-Kata National Park. For over 30,000 years, this area has been home to Anungnu, the traditional Aboriginal peoples who hold this land and its hidden water sources sacred.
Make no mistake, this is a mystical place. You feel it as you draw nearer. And when you're right underneath the rock, it's bigger than anything you can possibly imagine, and it surrounds you and envelops you. We're coming upon a waterhole, which is so unlikely. It's incredible to think what water would be like cascading over that vast sandstone cliff, crashing into this pool below.
It's so massive.
It's almost religion.
To climb or not to climb. Signs very clearly state by Anungnu people, it's sacred, and we'd appreciate it if you didn't climb it. So today, I'm choosing not to climb the rock.
To connect with the locals, I join an Indigenous art workshop.
This is an opportunity for you to pour your heart out on the canvas.
It's very meditative, but I'm hungry.
Emu feathers, amazing things. I've just heard some emus over here, so I'm going to go over here and try out a little trick to see if we can get them a bit closer. Now, as you can see, these birds are really curious. So when they see me on my back, arms and legs waving in the air, they just can't help themselves. They've got to come over and see what's happening. The emu is found only in Australia. It's our largest native bird, and it's actually the third largest bird in the world. Emus don't fly, but they can run really fast, up to 50 kilometres an hour. Unlike many birds, it's the male that sits on the nest to keep the eggs warm and safe. He's very protective and will lose a lot of weight during this time. So if you see an adult with little babies, it's the male. The emu is even on the Australian coat of arms, right there beside the Aussie kangaroo.
Dingoes arrived in Australia around 4,000 years ago, but no one is sure how they got here. They probably came by boat, brought over from the other side of the Indian Ocean by Asian seafarers. Some of these sea dogs escaped into the outback. There, they discovered a land that suited them perfectly. Lots of space, lots of prey, no enemies, and no competitors. And so the dingo went wild. Some native mammals couldn't cope with the competition. The thylacine and the Tasmanian devil, for example, probably became extinct because of the dingo. Others, like koalas, survived. But some locals even welcomed them. Aborigines had already lived in Australia for about 40,000 years before the original dingoes set foot on the continent. As social animals, the new arrivals soon formed close associations with the Aborigines. With their extraordinary sense of smell and expert tracking skills, dingoes were probably valued hunting companions. Elsewhere in the world, humans were turning from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a more settled existence.
We're 500 miles away from the closest city, in one of the most desolate, waterless places in the world. Behold, beware, the mining town of Uluṟu-Kata, Australia. It just might be the most extreme town in the entire world.
When you fly in over Uluṟu-Kata, you look down from the plane, it looks like Mars. And you think to yourself, how can anyone ever live down there?
Above ground, Uluṟu-Kata looks like your average mining town, dotted by large mounds of rubble evacuated from the mines. But it's not just digging that goes down underneath, because 60% of this town is actually 8 to 22 feet below the surface of the earth.
It's like the Flintstones meets the Jetsons out here.
Down below, it's absolutely fantastic.
Living underground, it's different though, but yeah, it's just normal.
Nowhere in the world do they have a place where you can eat, drink, sleep underground, like in Uluṟu-Kata.
So how did it all start? In 1914, 15-year-old William Hutchinson and his father were looking for gold when they discovered a massive amount of opal below. So people from all over Europe began settling the land, hoping to strike it rich in the mines. But to survive the harsh desert climate, they had to live in the mines too.
The temperatures we get here, 125 Fahrenheit in the shade during summer.
Physically, you just can't live above ground.
The name Uluṟu-Kata comes from the Aboriginal Cooper Piti, which means white man's hole, because when the Aborigines came here and they saw us white guys living in holes in the ground, they thought we were living in burrows like rabbits.
The name stuck, so in 1920, the local mining association officially named the town Uluṟu-Kata.
Australia is massive and its wildlife diverse. From the tropical Queensland coast to what's called the top end, Darwin and the monsoonal wetlands that surround it. And south, through the arid interior, to the red deserts of Alice Springs and beyond. Australia's red heart is amazing territory. There are creatures out here unlike anything in the world. Like this thorny devil. It's a mystery how anything so strange came to be. And it's also a mystery how one of those guys ended up 1,500 kilometres away from its home at Alice Springs and found itself here at the Ark Animal Hospital in Darwin. Uluṟu-Kata is the head vet.
That's fantastic. These are my favourite all-time reptile. They're great.
A wildlife ranger brought the lizard to the Ark after finding her for sale at the local markets.
She's been Parks and Wildlife have taken her off somebody trying to sell her to tourists.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey.
They obviously picked her up on the road in Alice Springs. And
Seems someone found her by the highway and drove her north, but she can't survive here.
They're just beautiful. These guys are specialist anteaters. They just eat ants. That's all, just the little tiny black ants, which are everywhere down there. This is her false head. You can see it's got two little horns and it's just a sort of a knob of sort of tissue there. You know, if a bird or something comes down and tries to eat it, they often will grab that.
There's not much Stephen doesn't know about thorny devils, but there's something about this one that doesn't add up.
Look how huge she is. She's just absolutely chockers.
She's fat, really fat. He has his suspicions why, but only an X-ray will tell for sure.